it is 7 o'clock, I will call this meeting of the Board of Education of the Rhode Island Olivia Lake Lillian Independent School District 2534 to order. A couple of housekeeping items. Welcome to everybody. I know that it is crowded in here, but I didn't want to go back to the gym and try to use the microphone, so we wanted to make sure that everyone was able to hear and in a big enough area. So one more thing, the School Board Association allowed us to not wear masks in the school. If you would like to wear your mask, you sure can, but you do not have to. But it's totally up to you. So just wanted to let you know that. All of our board members will speak up to make sure that everybody in the back can hear. So that's you guys. So you're going to do that. So, all right, we'll begin with the approval of our agenda. One addition/correction of the March 22nd, 2021 minutes. That will be number 4 under the consent items. So I put addition/correction to March 22nd, 2021 minutes as number 4 under approving the minutes. So with that correction.
You said March what?
22nd.
2021.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you. Motion is made by Bookdill,
Second, Boleen.
seconded by Boleen. Any discussion or questions? Hearing nothing, we'll vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. When I get to the consent items. Yeah, this is just approving the agenda. So, all right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Recognition of visitors to the board meeting. Thank you all for coming out. One thing I neglected to do that we've been doing is I read the mission statement at every board meeting. And the mission of the Bold School District is to provide all learners in the Bold community an education designed to develop the creativity, character, confidence, and skills essential to flourish in a changing global society. So that's why we're here. Public forum. Let me get my clock here working. Public forum is placed on the agenda for regular board meetings. During this part of each regular school board meeting, up to 10 minutes of time will be allowed for district constituents to address the school board. Each person or topic may have up to 2 minutes of time. And this is the time of listening by the board. So if anybody would like to speak, we're going to have 5 people. So I have 2 currently, and if anybody else wants to speak after them, that's fine. If you just want to stand maybe here, the camera will pick you up. And I will cut you off because we want to keep going. So.
I just want to say that you asked the community to participate in the superintendent selection process. And 16 people devoted an afternoon of their time for interviews. Most of them said yes or no to the question on the interview form given them. Should this candidate receive further consideration? They told you who their top choice was. Someone on the board said that was the opposite of what the board said. The board chair said one of the 2 chosen for the second interview had 8 yeses and the other had 7. I then asked to see the feedback forms. After I tabulated the forms, which I've handed out to each of you, I was shocked to see that the first choice by the citizens group had 12 yeses and only 1 no. My question to you as a board is why wasn't the committee's top choice asked for a second interview? I have a hard time understanding if you were truly interested in the Citizens Committee and their opinion. Shouldn't you take it into consideration their input to validate this process? And I close by applauding you for announcing in the Wilmer paper that you are hiring a professional search firm to carry on the next round of this process. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. Go right ahead.
Hi, my name is Tammy. I'm an educator in the school district for, I think, 28 years. And I want to thank the board for all of your hard work you've done and will continue to do to rebuild a positive, united future for Bold School. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to speak? All right.
I will.
Okay.
I just want to say I'm Heidi Wolfel. I was part of a community search for an assistant principal at the junior high my kids went to in the cities. And it was my choice, most of the people's least favorite choice. He was selected. Then I found the history was he had applied before. He did not have qualifications for junior high. He was at a senior high. So he took, from the previous round of opportunity for that position, he took the time and he went, took a different position so he could work with junior high to get qualified for junior high. So he was basically the shoo-in for the job no matter what people felt. And I do know that there is a shoo-in for this position. However, the shoo-in has not gone to get business qualified. This is not a position for working with students. Very well qualified for working with students, very well liked by students. This is a business position. And we need to hire somebody who has business background to help move us forward. And we do need to be united, I think unanimously, with our next selection for superintendent.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? All right, seeing no one else, we'll move on to the consent items. And so only one motion is needed to approve all the consent items. I'm going to go ahead right away, though, right now to read that addition correction to the March 22nd, 2021 minutes. And where it starts is the closed session superintendent evaluation. Bookdill moved and Benson seconded a motion to move to a closed session at 7:59. Motion carried unanimously by roll call vote. At 8:02 during the break before the closed meeting started, Benson had to leave because of an emergency call and did not return. Hanson moved and Boleen seconded a motion to reopen the meeting at 8:43 p.m. Motion carried unanimously by roll call vote. Adjourn. Hanson moved and Boleen seconded a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:43 p.m. Motion carried unanimously by roll call vote. So that is what the addition correction is. Joy, I will send that to you so you have it verbatim. So we will be approving here what I read, approving the bills for payment, approving the minutes of the April 26th, 2021 regular board meeting, May 13th, 2021 special meeting, May 18th, 2021 special meeting, and the addition corrections to March 22nd, 2021 minutes.
So move, Boleen.
Motion is made by Boleen,
Second, Bookdill.
seconded by Bookdill. Any discussion? Hearing nothing, we'll vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. All right, moving on to personnel. Number one, approve hiring Nicole Coughlin as a summer custodian for $8.21 an hour for 320 hours during the 2021 summer.
So moved, Benson.
Motion is made by Benson,
Second, Bowen.
seconded by Bowen. Any discussion or questions?
I have a question. My question is, why are these positions open? I understand that you don't wanna pay a full-time janitor to do summer custodial work. However, we do have 6 janitors in the school. I was just wondering, like, for savings, are we gonna lay off some janitors just for the summer? Or how does that work instead of keeping everybody on full employment?
Denny, would you like to speak to the janitor? The janitor, she's asking about why we're hiring students to work as janitorial help.
Basically, my janitors are gonna be busy. We're doing 14 extra rooms this year, compared to what we were last year. The mowing, everything like that, it's crunch time. With our schedule this year with migrants over here and everything else, we need the extra hands-on so we can do it a little bit faster. And that's about the reason that we do it.
Any other discussion? All right, hearing no other discussion, we will vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Number 2, approve hiring Eric Zong Frischie as a summer custodian for $8.21 an hour for 320 hours during the 2021 summer.
So move, Boleen.
Motion is made by Boleen,
Second Bookto.
seconded by Bookto. Any discussion or questions? Hearing nothing, we will vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Number 3, accept the resignation of Brittany Friesen, special education teacher, effective June 7th of 2021.
So move, Benson.
Motion is made by Benson, seconded by Jacobs. Any questions or discussion on that? Hearing nothing, we will vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Number 4, approve hiring Mr. Skylar Schmidt, agricultural industrial tech teacher beginning with the 2021-2022 school year, pay level BA0 at the 2019-2021 EA master agreement.
So move, Boleen.
Motion is made by Boleen, seconded by Benson. Any discussion or questions?
Awesome job. in
I know,
finding
that's
so
what I was gonna say. I'm
fast.
just glad we
Yeah.
got a candidate.
Yes.
So, and sounds like a good one. So that's great. Anything else? Hearing nothing else, we will vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Number 5, approve hiring Ms. Brielle Lazinski as a secondary English teacher beginning with the 2021-2022 school year, pay level BA0 of the 2019-2021 EA master agreement.
So move, Bookto.
Motion is made by Bookto. I will, seconded by Bowen. Any discussion or questions?
Again, awesome on finding a teacher so fast.
Yes, and I bet she's gonna be called Ms. L, maybe? I just,
That's
I
a
don't
good
mean,
one.
maybe not. So, I'm just glad I got that all right, or maybe, hopefully right. So, any other discussion? Hearing nothing else, we will vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. All right, approve the 2021 summer rec employees as listed on enclosure number 1.
So,
Okay, can we make a, we don't, we're informal, so you don't have to, but it just makes things cleaner, so.
so move, Boleen.
Okay, so that was the first. Is that, yes, okay. Motion is made by Boleen, seconded by Bookto.
Okay, I just got a question.
Yes.
What's the plan for the summer here now, the summer rec? What are they gonna go back to exactly everything we did before? There's some additions, changes?
Maybe, I don't know if Mr.
Might
Plan
be in
is
his
here.
report. I thought there was something about it. in
There's
his report.
something on there.
I think it,
Okay, yeah,
I'm
Tammy's here.
teaching in the preschool and doing some of the science classes, but to me, it looks very similar to what it is, what it has been. I mean, it seems like the classes that were offered inside are also gonna be offered inside this year, and then our outside activities. I don't think it has changed at all. I mean, other than the fee.
Anybody know how many?
I don't know that yet.
We're almost 100, 900 or
900, that'd be
900,
great.
yeah.
Wow.
95. I think they're at 95 right now. Margaret, is that right?
Yeah, at 2:30, it was 95. Matt Zupke had emailed me. 95 had signed up, so.
So
Awesome.
it's a bit large group. I think it's making a statement that the kids are want to get back.
Good.
And so
And
it's good.
oftentimes, like, the preschool doesn't get their new kids, I mean, a lot of them register that morning, that's what we found with preschool.
Okay,
So, yeah.
yes. All right, any other questions on summer rec? All right, all in favor then, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay,
Abstain.
or if you need to abstain. All right, motion carries 5-0 with 1 abstention. All right. Number 7, approve Patricia Robleski as a food service staff for the summer food program at the Olivia campus. The hours are dependent on summer rec numbers.
So moved, Benson.
Motion is made by Benson,
Second bullying.
seconded by Boleen. Any discussion or questions about that?
When you say depends on summer rec numbers, so if the,
Margaret, I'm gonna point you to who's gonna,
what would make a difference?
It depends on if they're gonna get 6 hours or 5 hours,
Oh.
depending on the number of
Hours.
students. So we know how many we're gonna be serving,
Okay.
along with the migrant program students will be here too. So we're just kind of waiting to see where that number is
Okay.
tipping off at.
I was just thinking that if we hire somebody and if they sort of only have so many kids, now you're not, I just didn't want
Mhm.
to have to do that, so I get the hours.
that makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions? Hearing nothing else, we will vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Number 8, approve Kristen Young as a food service staff for the summer food program at the Olivia campus. The hours again are dependent on summer rec numbers.
So moved, Bookto.
Motion is made by Bookdal,
Second Bowen.
seconded by Bowen. Any discussion or questions? Hearing nothing, we will vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Number 9, approve Brenda Mensch as a food service staff of the summer food program at the Olivia campus. The hours are dependent on the summer rec numbers.
So moved, bullying.
Motion is made by Boleen,
Second, Benson.
seconded by Benson. Any discussion or questions on this? Hearing nothing, we will vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Number 10, approve Brooke Traeger as the food service staff for the summer food program at the Olivia campus. The hours are dependent on summer rec numbers.
So moved, Bookto.
Motion is made by Bookdal,
Second Bowen.
seconded by Bowen. Any discussion or questions? Hearing nothing, we will vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Number 11, approve Brittany Lawaji as the food service staff for the summer food program at the Olivia campus. The hours are dependent on summer rec numbers.
So moved Bowen.
Bowen, motion is made by Bowen, seconded by Jacobs. Any discussion or questions? Hearing nothing, we will vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. All right, moving on to reports. Superintendent's report.
Okay, the first item that I've listed there is a legislative report, and of course, everybody knows that on the 17th, the legislatures ended their regular session. But they got a lot to do yet. They spent the weekend and Monday really, a lot of committee meetings and a lot of things were coming out of it. And a lot of confusion, I think, there's a lot of dollars being flowed around different programs and everything, and so they're still finalizing all that. And the MSBA held a Zoom meeting on Friday, and so we heard some of the feedback and some of the information, but again, it's hard to know what's going to end up. There's going to be a special session, and right now everything's in committees, and they need to come back out of those committees and to the special session. And it's the word is that the governor will be calling a special session on the 14th, and so we're trying to put a budget together. We're trying to put on see what revenue we're based on the state gen ed revenue. That's a big indicator of what. As far as the budget is concerned, so we're struggling with that right now. Presently, it looks like, and we're hoping that there'll be a minimum of at least 2% per year on the gen ed revenue side of it. And so, again, that's laying out there. Where it's going to end up, I'm not sure. But they need, the legislative people need to hear support for public education and need for funding. It's drastic, and I think I had a conversation with Margaret today, and I asked if I could repeat this to her because it's kind of interesting. What's happening to our costs? And I think everybody knows it when you're going to the grocery store or wherever you go out to buy your products. But
she buys gloves for the kitchen staff. And you know how many you go through. Every time you take it off, you got to put a clean one on. And so that's got to be a major expenditure. Last May, she could buy a case for $35. And that case was a 50 pair. Now, this May, she's ordering, they're $150 per case. So you see what's happening to the cost. And so what I'm trying to show is this is happening all across. Everybody's budgets are going the same way, but the school budget is limited. And so we're trying to get a balanced budget. We're working hard on it. So, but know that that's happening out there with, and so it's hard to come back with a very much of a solid budget at this point. So we'll continue working with it. But encourage your representatives. They want to be heard from you. What are your thoughts out in outer state? And so please talk to your finance committee. MSBA is your lobbyist group, and they try and keep you informed. And every Saturday or every Friday morning, rather, they've had a chat where you could go on and the lobbyists speak about what has happened that week, and you can enter or keep up with what's happening. So I really encourage that. So they're going into a special session. We'll see what comes out of that. But state funding right now, it's critical. We have a surplus in the state, so we don't know what that's going to mean for this public school system. So if you have an opportunity to visit with them, do, please. And so, second item, there is a MDE's commissioners update. And so everybody has heard about the masks issue and the CDC coming out and lifting that guideline for the general public. But it kind of was dropped all of a sudden, and nobody was prepared for this. And so then the State Department got very involved and started putting out guidelines, as well as the School Board Association, and putting guidelines. And Jill just shared tonight what the School Board Association has put out, is that for board meetings you don't need to. If it's after hours, we don't need to use them. But if students are in the building, then we need to respect that. And it continues to recommend that the school staff and students wear masks in buildings and on school buses for the remainder of the school year. And that's kind of where the stance that the MDE is. We're going to follow our learning plan to the last student and staff day, and then we'll see what's going to take place after that. So everybody is really anxious for that, I think, but we also have to respect each other's health and know that too. So it's good to see what the numbers have been doing for our COVID cases in the county. Has gone extremely down now. We're down to like 17, which we were up at the 50s and the 60s at one time, not that long ago. So it's really dropped off as far as the county. And last Friday, when we looked at our cases in the school, in our building, we did not have any COVID positive cases. And we had one student that was under quarantine due to not having COVID, but just a contact one. So that's a good number to see, and so we're glad to see that in the building. And so I think of all that we've gone through this year. Parents, you know what you've gone through, and staff and students. It's been quite a year. Like I was telling one of the seniors this weekend, I said, when you get to be my age and you tell your grandkids, this is what happened when I was a senior in high school, they're not going to believe you. And so it's been that type of a year. And so hat off to our staff, our food service group has done an outstanding job, and our custodial staff, all the teachers with the different learning plans, they've had to switch from one learning plan to another very quickly, and they've done an outstanding job. But it's been hard. And our staff is tired, and I think our students are tired. And I think that's what the kids are going to get out and they're going to do some activities, and I think that's a real positive. I think it's a sign of recovery, and so we hope we keep going in that direction. So we'll try and do that with. So the MDE keeps us updated on guidelines as far as what they're recommending, and I would say a month ago when MDE talked about next fall, they were saying probably similar things that we're doing right now. And now I think it's much more positive now. And I don't know if I should say this, but I will. We're hoping that when fall comes, we can probably start a pretty normal year. You know, that would be a goal. But again, we have to watch ourselves and our neighbors, respecting each other, and taking care of our health. So, facility update, just to give you an update, we've had a couple meetings. Our facilities committee has met, and Denny has brought up some of the facility issues we have. There's a major roof repair that he'll be looking at in the 1990s part of the building, and that is due, and he's having lots of problems with that, so he'll be looking at that. The carpeting in our media center will be the first week in June, starting June 7th or 8th, they'll be in here replacing the carpet. If you remember, we had some water issues last fall, late fall, and so because of that, now we need to replace the carpet, and so we're looking forward to getting that done. And we're fortunate, insurance is going to take pretty much the cost of the replacement, so that's good. OSHA, Denny had a report about OSHA was through with a mock inspection, and it went fairly well. There was some minor things, and talking with Denny this morning now, pretty much every one of those things have been upkeeps have been taken care of, so there was nothing major, so that's good. And we talked about the Bird Island campus. The Chalkboard collective group continues to meet, working on something to do or what to do with the facility, trying to get groups together and taking it over. So we talked about the future plans of the facility. It was a year ago that we elected to close that building, and so then we've tried to maintain it the best we could for now, and then but that's an expense that is on the district, and so we're wanting to do I think the board has a feeling that what we can do to help support that mission that we would, and we have done it for years. So we've got a lot of things stored over there. The teachers have got a lot stored, and we've got some equipment. So we need to look at, do we have an auction on some of that we don't use? Some of it's in bad shape, some is in good shape. So that are things that we're working with that. And the last thing I mentioned is the electronic sign donation, and Ted Orm is here tonight to answer any questions we get to that agenda item. And so he gave us you have that agreement of what's the responsibility of the class, and I think it was 1977, and what's the responsibility of the district with it given, and maybe the facilities committee can address that when we get to that point. So, okay. And then last time I just put down some year-end information. June 3rd is the last student day. June 4th is graduation. 7 o'clock Friday evening, and you're invited to attend and congratulate the graduates and be part of the ceremony and congratulate them. And I don't know what Mr. Mitten's got for the board role. You got anything to add?
I'll talk about it here.
Okay, good.
You're taking all my thunder.
Okay, I've gone long enough.
One
Is that what
just
you're saying?
yeah, one thing as to your end of the year information is Wednesday, May 26th is the retirement party at 3:30.
3:30, also mark my thunder.
Oh, sorry. Well, I guess it wasn't down here, and I know I cannot be there because I have to close the store that night because I've had to switch some things around. But if any of the board can be there to help, that would be wonderful. Just let Joy know so that she knows who to find. Sorry to break in any report. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Bransoy? All right, we'll move on to our elementary principals report, which is included in your packet. But if Mr. Benson is here, he is not here today. So, all right, if you have any questions for Mr. Benson, I know he would love an email.
He had a report.
Okay. All right, high school principals report with Mr. Menton.
Just a modification on Bill had mentioned the numbers, the county numbers have gone way down, and that's very true. They're actually at 15.75 today. If you go back just a little over a week, they're up to around 35. So I think our county's doing very well in getting that under control. The prom went well. I heard just great things for a prom that didn't have a dance. But kids had fun, and Cheryl Peterson did a great job as always organizing that. And then Amber Weber this year was the parent in charge of the after prom party, and that went very well. I heard great things about that as well. So I will add to the retirement. We've got Julie Gass. It was her last day last Friday. She's spent her career basically down at Bird Island, and everybody was worried at the beginning of the year we're going to be packing someone else into our office, and anytime you add someone to a dynamic, you never know what's going to happen. But Julie was just fantastic to work with. She was a lot of fun, and we're really going to miss her in there. So in addition to Julie, the retirees, Mr. Bransoy is leaving, as well as we're going to include two retirees from last year, Gary McCrell and Bill Gabbert, who were not able to really have a real get together because of the pandemic. So they'll be around as well.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Menton. All right, moving on to activities report, which was also included in your packet, and I see Mr. Flan is here, so if he has anything further to add.
I don't really have anything else. There is I think one of the last ones on there, it says I would update you on summer rec numbers. We were at like 95 when Zupke emailed me, and I just picked up a big envelope from St. Mary's, so I'm guessing we're well over 100 right now after he processes those tomorrow. So
Okay.
normal year we're at 150 range, and I would guess we'll still, right up till the first day, we'll still have them coming in. So I would expect it to be pretty normal for what we're going to see in summer rec.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Flan?
Sandy had a question about if there were anything new, anything you're doing different this summer.
We made pretty considerable changes 2 years ago, our last year before COVID, where we tried to really modify what's available to the upper elementary kids. Zupke, I think, has tweaked a little bit of that from just trial and error after 1 year, but no major changes this year from where we were 2 years ago.
All right, thank you. School board discussion. Does anyone have anything they would like to discuss?
I don't know about discussing it, but I noticed on the website that we have 2 contracts yet. Are you gonna do that before you leave? I couldn't believe we were back in 17-19, because when you started here, you said, well, that'll never happen. And we got 2 sitting out there, 17-19, we should probably get that taken care of.
We've that one has been delayed. They're coming together as one union. That's our non-licensed people, our custodial staff, our
Right.
food service, our administrative assistants, and all. So that's really a revamping it, and so we've been working with the rep with that. I was supposed to have a copy today to look at, but I didn't get it yet today, so I'm not sure. The kind of the final. Let's move forward now. So yeah, the licensed staff, the EA, we were supposed to meet. I think it was last Wednesday night. We moved that till June. What date?
I think June 2nd.
June
Yes.
2nd, yeah. So we moved
Oh,
it
yeah,
to
no.
there. And so we'll be starting, that's the first at the organizational meeting.
Well, before we do that one, shouldn't we clean up the other ones first?
Well, they're separate unions, they're separate
Right.
contracts. So
Don't you wanna clean up the 17 and
Well-
19 first before we start the new?
they're, I don't know if that's gonna, really, they're not really interwound at all. They're separate groups, and so
Oh, I get
I'd
that.
like to get the one done first, but I don't think we're gonna get it done in time. And if,
Well, the
and
other
I don't
one,
know, the teachers, what?
well, the other one, then we shouldn't start that one until we get the
Well, it doesn't
other
hurt to
ones up
start
to
it.
date, because it's not really fair. You got these here that are 17-19 contract, and then you got the other ones. Teachers are already pretty much, I mean, they're up to date from last year, the EA ones, so wouldn't we wanna work on the older ones first that are not
Well,
up to date?
we've got a committee working on that.
Okay.
And we have a committee working on the certified, so two different groups.
Okay.
So,
I just
I'd
wondered,
like
cause
to
I
get them
noticed
both
that,
done.
I noticed that on the website, and I thought that was
Yes.
kinda odd that we wouldn't have those done already, and
Well.
trying to start another now, so.
been an interesting year this year, to say the least. Okay,
All right, anything
You're right.
else for school board discussion? All right, hearing nothing else, pool report, it says it's available at the meeting. We do, yes,
I was hoping to get a report from Tracy, and I never did.
okay,
So that's why I put available at meeting, hoping there would
Okay.
be one for tonight, and I never got one.
okay. So if we have any questions, we'll go to Tracy. But any questions about the pool, so. All right, moving on to new business, and we'll go to our addendum here for the first couple of items. Number one, electronic school sign donation of the Olivia High School class of 1977 Memorial Scholarship Fund. It's enclosure number 2.
do you wanna mention anything about, when we met as a committee, Ted, do you wanna? He's here, he's willing to.
I can share what we talked about too as committee.
I think that's all
We talked about, just so you know, Ted, we talked about leaving that sign out there and then putting it, the only concern is we know that there's some not so good golfers in this. Right, I won't mention any names, Mr. Menton. So that was a concern of putting it over there, but
Sure.
we kind of just talked about that, having both signs, so
That's
they're
totally
appealing.
fine. When we started the project, we just assumed it would go over
Yeah,
there. We didn't
yeah.
know you already had conduit running out this way.
Yeah.
It totally makes sense to go there. We're totally fine with it.
Yeah, so that was one thing we talked about. We just wanted to see what your thoughts on that before we talk to the neighbors out
Nope.
there about that.
Nope, not a problem. Yeah, pretty rock.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have anything else you want to say.
No, it's- there's no questions from you guys. You just need a signature. and-
Thank you for
Yes,
all the
thank
time.
you.
Yes,
You're welcome.
yes. Okay, we need to finish our job on this
Okay,
one
yeah,
though here.
I'll make
So,
a motion to
yeah.
approve this.
Okay, quick. No,
Yeah,
no,
quick,
no,
before he
no.
signs it.
You're seconding it, Sandy? Okay. I've got a motion made by Boleen, seconded by Benson. Any discussion?
Do you want me to contact, or is someone else gonna contact Susie and, I don't know who lives in the brick house.
Oh, yeah, Revere,
Revere.
Mark and Becky Revere.
Do you want me to contact them or someone else contact them?
Okay,
Your facilities, I think
Okay.
that's great.
thank you.
I'll contact Susie and Mark Revere, you said?
Yes,
She's
Yeah.
the TCIL.
yeah. All right, any other discussion?
Anybody else you think that we need to contact over there?
So who's gonna be in charge of running the signs and the messaging and keeping it up to date? Who in our administration or staff does that going forward?
We've talked about that administrator. That's a good point because you don't wanna put it out there and you wanna turn it.
Right.
Because once you start it, people are gonna be looking at it and they're gonna hear right away. So we talked about administratively, and so I think that would come back into, Jim, if you can help me, we talked about that and
We've had a number of people we've talked about. I don't know if you want
maybe not specific, but I think,
secretarial
Yeah.
or activities director or.
They will determine.
We've
Right.
talked about quite a few.
we also
They'll
talked
determine
about.
that. It's an
have a
administrative
business
decision.
group, and, then I run class, Cheryl Peterson's ahead of that. That's another group we
That'd be
thought
fun, too.
that would be a good project
Yeah,
for.
digital. I
And
like
so-
that.
So I think, but that's something we wanna make sure that because there are school signs around that you drive by and they're still got welcome back students. And so what you're saying is, and thanks to the class, and that's a direct reflection on that class, is that the school is gonna take care of it. And so that's key, so thank you.
Is there anybody else you can think of that I need to contact?
I don't think so.
I mean, they'll probably
the city,
get
do we
the.
have to have anything as far as
You,
lists and everything else?
Ted, maybe you wanna
Yeah,
address the
Ted was
city.
gonna talk to the city. Right, you're gonna talk to the city about permits,
Yeah,
correct?
the next step's gonna be the permit and the variance.
Yes.
And we'll get working on that here this week, actually. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
So we'll keep you posted.
Okay.
I've got all your emails, I'll just give you updates as we move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To Jill, real quick,
Yes.
we also discussed parameters for what is going to be allowed on the sign. Do you include like everybody's birthday on there, or
Right.
neighborhood has a garage sale? So we're gonna come up with
Have a policy for what will
Some
be.
guidelines.
Yeah, guidelines. Yep, good idea. All right, any other discussion about the sign? All right, hearing nothing else, we will vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to 1A, action to rescind the motion to start the superintendent search process.
I make the motion to rescind the motion that was made last Thursday evening in regards to restarting the superintendent search process. I made a mistake personally, and I believe, I don't think it's in the best interest of the school to start all over again.
I'll second Brian's motion.
Okay, motion has been made by Bowen and seconded by Bookdill. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, I feel like, well, is it Robert's rules that says that if you haven't done any action, that you can move ahead with rescinding? However, we have done some action steps already. One was by contacting the last two candidates and letting them know that we are moving forward. And two, by putting a notice in the paper or papers, letting people know in the communities that we've decided to move forward. So those are two action steps already.
Well, it was, okay, so we had second interviews on Thursday. And I told the candidate from Thursday that I would let the candidates, that I would let them know Friday morning. So I had to let them know what the board decided, right? I mean, had to let them know that, either you have a job or you don't have a job. So until that was the action the board had taken. So was I gonna not call Mr. Bierman until today? I mean, because I didn't know about the rescinding until later. So I have to do my job that I'm following through on with this search process and call the candidates. I couldn't just leave them hanging out all weekend. I didn't know that this was going to happen.
Right.
So,
But it is an action step to stop one process and to start the other. And the other one was talking to Linda Vanderburg in the paper Friday morning and letting her know that we are moving forward. So that is.
well, but that again was the position of the board at that time. So,
Well, and you talked to MSBA.
yes.
And MSBA says that this is okay.
That is their opinion. So, and that is who I would go to get the information. So,
Right. And the parliamentary procedure does say if there's no action taken, go ahead and move forward, but we have taken it. That's
Okay.
understanding that.
well,
I'd like to just say, since we're having discussion, and I was one that voted to start the superintendent search over, just looking back in hindsight, personally, I wish I just wanna explain myself a little bit, that it felt like things were moving really quickly afterwards. It was a lot to process. It was 2 interviews, discussion, and I maybe wish we would have just tabled it and come back to it later, rather than, looking back, I think we had 4 good candidates. So I don't wanna start the search over. I think we have good candidates here.
But do you remember me at that meeting? I stated, this is going way too fast. We're moving way too fast, we're not dotting our i's, we're not crossing our t's, and y'all wanted to just keep moving fast. And so, I guess we kind of moved, and now I feel like we did what you guys wanted to do, y'all wanna move fast, and then I feel like now all of a sudden, well, I decided I didn't wanna move that fast, now let's back the track up, and things didn't go the way I planned, so let's change. That's kind of the way I felt, because I stated numerous times in that meeting, did you state a few times too, you felt like we were going too fast? And I did feel like, it was like 1 week and boom, 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 boom,
I felt
I
like
mean, you
we
didn't even
had,
get time to
I
think.
felt like we
You're
had
right.
2 good candidates, and I felt like we owed it to them to really, again, it was overwhelming, and the whole situation was overwhelming. I just lost my train of thought. We had 2 candidates, and I wanted to make sure for myself that we were just really putting the time in to choose which one we think is the best one.
But we didn't do that, that's the problem.
And I'd like to take that a step further too, just to rewind it even more. I truly feel we should have looked at the 4 candidates longer. We jumped to two soon, and we should have called them all back for second interviews. And I was just looking at, or going over these calculations that Mr. O'Neill brought up. You know, we keep asking for community input, and it's like it falls on deaf ears. The community, like he stated, took the day off and their time, and they went through the interview process with us, and they definitely gave us which direction they felt we should go, and we didn't.
But
We failed them.
I'm gonna say with that the community input, and I agree with you, because we did ask them to volunteer, and they did put a lot of time into that, and I appreciate all the feedback. We as a board, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, I think after the top candidate, we pretty much ruled that one out right away. Right after the interview, because we felt like it was too big of a jump from where that person was now. And then we're talking about, we're a little bit worried about, you know, being the ultimate one in charge and kind of the buck stops here type of thing. We talked about that at the interview, so that was my feeling. You guys aren't agreeing with me?
No,
Okay.
I wanted them all to come back.
I
know we
did,
talked
I wanted
about
all
it.
of them, I would have liked to have that
And
opportunity.
especially when the community, for sure, had her first.
Well, we
Mine
we're all pretty shocked at the
Yes.
difference of what we thought when we got back and talked to the committee. I mean, I felt we were all pretty like, wow, that's not what we got. And even with the one candidate that we did interview, I didn't feel like they had great things to say, at least. Now, looking back at their notes, yes, I didn't tabulate them, but I'll take John's word for it. But that night, it seemed like a lot of negative things were coming out. So,
And I didn't feel that way.
So I kind of got that impression.
And I look back at my notes too, and my notes fell fairly close. Not 100% the same way, but fairly close with the community. So for me, it was fun to hear that, because that made me even want to more so call them back, because I just felt they're giving us what they heard. And
So just to address what I was sent from the School Board Association, what we were sent is using the motion to rescind, you can undo or change any decision your group made in the past. Nothing is forever, and that saying is especially true in the world of clubs and organizations. So this is not talking about whether business has been done. I don't know what decision you could make that something wouldn't have been done after the decision, because that's the direction the board wants you to go, so you have to go with it. But then if somebody who voted for it changes their mind, then they have the opportunity to rescind it. So that is my understanding of it. And I guess, is there any further discussion?
I understood it as if you do something physically too, like if you vote to paint the school, and then they paint the school, you can't come back and say, we're not gonna pay to paint the school. You can't go back on something that you had agreed upon that physically was done, and now that job is done.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing nothing else, we will vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 4-2. All right, moving on. 1B, discussion and possible action on offering an employment contract for the superintendent position.
I make a motion to offer the contract to Jim and
Second, Boleen.
Motion is made by Benson, seconded by Boleen.
But Benson.
Sorry, Bowen. It was Bowen. Joyce got it. So I am sorry. I just said the wrong name. There are a lot of B's, to be truthful. So, all right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
yes. So, I just need to make some verbal discussion here. We all know that Mr. Menton is a wonderful superintendent. I don't deny that.
Superintendent,
Or not
or is he principal?
Talk about superintendent, so he's a wonderful principal. But there are some things that, this is the reason why I would not go along with that. One, I think it'd be somewhat discriminatory to the other candidates that were thrown out right off the get-go. Tracy, if you remember in our first 7 candidates, some of them got thrown out because, their jobs were cut, they had position cuts because of budget reductions, and there were a couple that had 2 or 3 of them on their resume, and you said that.
I didn't say it was because of budget reductions, I said that the first thing I looked at the application was the job history. And there was one candidate that had 2 years that didn't have anything, so we have no idea what that person was doing for those 2 years. And the rest of them were all 1 year or less,
But I
and
think there
the
was
dates
another
were a
one.
little bit off for me too. I didn't know it was because of budget reductions, so I never saw that.
Okay, well, that was a different candidate, but there were 2 of them on Mr. Minton's. There were things that were deleted, or not deleted, but omitted, dates were omitted. His application came in late.
I thought his application was the first
He was the
one that we
first
received.
one.
But it was incomplete.
There was nothing there.
There was stuff that was in, that didn't show up until.
Okay.
There was 1 page,
Right.
first page.
Okay.
And so
With
that was
nothing on
a
it.
little frustrating since he worked in the school district and he kind of knew he was gonna come on and do that, or apply. But he was the only one in the interview that had red notes.
So that, you should hold that against him?
No, I'm just.
I mean,
I'm
just,
I'm
I
pointing out
didn't know, I'm
something.
sorry, you're right. It just,
He read notes, and where the other ones just, when you ask them questions, they could just flow with it, and,
And some flowed better than others.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
and that's all part of it.
now I lost my whole train of thought.
Sorry.
I just feel like when you're in an interview and when somebody asks you a question, your answer should be from the heart and from what you think, and you should never have to look down and go, what did I write? That should, I mean, if somebody asks you a specific and you're being downright and honest and forthcoming, you should never have to look to see what your thoughts were. It should come right out. It should just
I think
flow.
that's probably different for everybody. I think there's people that are better at public speaking, there's people that struggle
Mhm.
with it. I think for Mr. Menton, it's a lot more awkward situation when you're interviewing, when we know him and he knows us, and then the second interview of a lot of people here, and so I think that's,
Yeah, the other thing
you
too,
know, I
that,
thought Patrick was a very good interview. He's a public speaker, you know, and it showed.
the other
I
thing
thought,
though too,
I
that
personally thought Mr. Menton's second interview was better than Mr. Bierman's.
the community even pointed out, but some of the questions, they said Mr. Minton's interview was the shortest. There were a lot of things that he said he didn't have the answers to, didn't know anything about it. A lot of these other candidates had experience with business, like Mr. Bierman had double major in business and he taught business ed for 9.5 years.
Leadership.
Even according to the tabulations, all the other candidates had way more strength, and I went through and I wrote down all the comments myself from each one. I looked at Patrick
Bierman.
His strengths were, they had 2 things for weaknesses, the rest were all strengths, and it was almost just the opposite for Mr. Minton. And he's a wonderful guy. This is not a personal
No,
thing.
I
That's the
don't
whole
believe
thing.
it
I think
is.
it's so
I
funny.
don't
This is
think
not
it's a personal
personal.
thing
No,
at all.
this is based totally on
And I
how
believe
the
it's not
candidates interviewed. And some of these are very, very strong candidates, and they've had experience working with budgets and business, and I could go on and on. So you have to have more, especially where we're sitting in a school district that's so divided. The one about Mr. Bierman, like I pointed out, is that he was in military for 21 years and he's retired. And he got a leadership award from the military that they only hand out to less than 2% of soldiers. So they figured he's a very strong leader, and I think we need a very strong leader with that experience behind him. Another thing
I just want to say this, that I feel like where I'm coming from is Mr. Menton knows how divided this community is, and I feel very strongly that he's going to do everything in his power to reunite everybody. He knows what's going on. He will not be blindsided by anything. And interviewing, I always think too, sometimes it's fair to let those people that are in your business get those opportunities first. But I think that's where I stand, is he knows, and he was very forthcoming in saying he would do some things different, but he was very also respectful of his boss. So that's where I come from.
I don't think it's anything against Mr. Mettner.
I know
I
that.
like him too as a person, he's a great person,
Yeah.
but when we're looking at someone that's going to go forward here, number one, I talked to a couple, school board members in a couple different schools, and they said the first thing they look at, do they have a license? If they don't, they get tossed aside, and you look at only licensed people. And this person said, how many did you have with license? I said, 1. Oh. So I said, there would have been only one choice. And I said, we did have a principal that applied and everything. He goes, oh, okay. So is he getting his license? I said, yes. And he said, well, does he have it already? And I said, no. He goes, push it off his side. What about the other candidates? Where were they at? And I told him, and he said, well, if they had their license and the other one had a license with experience, and they know Bold very well, both of them do, and they said in the situation Bold is in right now, my honest opinion is nothing, and they know Mr. Minton, nothing against Mr. Minton because he's the nicest guy, but we need someone with experience and someone that's got what it takes with the background. And if Jim would have had his license maybe a year ago when this came up, probably no doubt in our minds, he would have probably been on it. But right now, that experience isn't there. If he'd work under somebody for a year, maybe that would come true and it would come out. But realistically, coming right out of the gate and go, here it is, boy, take off and go, we're setting them up for failure. I mean, realistically, you're setting a person up for failure. If he had someone underneath him for another year after he gets his license, I would say, let's try it, let's see how it goes. But that's not the case right now. The case right now is we're in the present, and he doesn't have it. And Tracy, in your business, if you basically had someone that didn't have a license and you need a license, would you hire the person that didn't have a license or the person that did because you know they got the license?
I guess that's a hard comparison because we don't have that in my business. I can tell you that in my business, if I had somebody that worked for me for 5 years and they had done a fantastic job for 5 years, they would be my first choice.
Well, but
over
no,
somebody coming in.
Realistically, yeah. But in that
I was
business,
just
they don't
being
have
honest,
to have a
realistically,
license.
I
Brian,
don't have that type of.
in your business,
I did
would
the
you just
exact same, cover my eyes, and I thought about what would I do in my business if I had a worker that worked for me and they did what it took to better themselves, to go to the next step. And then that step opened up for them to take over in my business. I wouldn't even go out and see if there was somebody else that was better qualified with them. I would move them into it.
and you would take them and right out of the gate, you
I
go,
would.
there it
I would
is.
too, and
If
figure
I'd
it
seen
out.
him for
I
5
don't
years,
believe
I
that
would.
Mr. Metten would have applied for this if he didn't think that he could handle it. He knows the challenges that we're facing.
That's just what I would do personally.
It just
I
scares
can
me.
honestly tell you.
Well, the thing is I don't think we have to convince each other. I think we have to answer to the community because they told us who they wanted, what they saw, what
That
they.
was only 15 people though, Teresa, honestly. I mean, it was 15 mix of people, and again, I believe that some of the interview, like I was shocked at what some of the things that they were saying to us, because that's not the vibe I got from that interviewee, you know? So I think that, yes, we take it in and this is what it was, and I didn't read those papers until after we narrowed down to our 2.
That was a mistake.
That was. We wanted to read those that night. And then again, we were in a hurry. Let's just move on. We said, let's read those. Let's look at them. Let's read them. We wanted to look at them. Didn't seem like anybody wanted to. Those are things that when you're going through a process, you don't just go, okay, let's move on. Okay, let's move on. This is not one of those situations where you can go, okay, let's move on. It's not. This is a serious deal. Serious for our community.
Very
And
much
you
so.
got to be very diligent in your process. And that was another process. We did not go through those that night. I was up till midnight that night looking at those things, just making sure that we did our diligence, and we did them. I mean, and then I look and go, yeah, there was just more there that we should have looked at.
Well, I make a motion to amend this motion.
No, well, you could amend it, I guess, but
I'd like to amend it.
that has to pass. So if you make a motion, there's a second, we have to vote on that amendment, and that has, okay, what's your
So I'd like to
amendment?
make a motion to amend this motion. Considering all the things we talked about, and we have a split board right now, as far as some feeling very rushed to make a decision, some still wanting to give Mr. Minton a chance. Okay? My amendment is, let's bring back all 4 candidates for another interview with the community, and let's have them, let the community come up with their own questions. And we can come up with our own questions now.
Okay, that's really, really long, but can you restate it more succinctly so that people understand exactly what we're...
Okay, so I'm making a motion to amend this motion.
Okay.
Bear with me because I don't do this every day.
And nobody does.
Yeah.
We don't.
That we bring back all 4 candidates for another interview with the community members that did the interview. Same process, except we all asked our own questions.
Okay, is there a second to that?
I'll second that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing, go ahead.
I don't know why we have a board.
Well, this is the board's job to
And it's a big
it is a big job, but it is the board's job to hire the superintendent. The community definitely is helpful, but I mean, ultimately, it's not something we had to do. So, I mean, it's not.
We didn't do it last time.
Right, when we hired Mr.
Not that I don't
Bransoy,
appreciate the
so.
people that were there, but it is done.
I was gonna say that, I think we owe it to
I
the
do
community
appreciate it.
because we are so divided, that's the least we can do.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second, and any other further discussion? We are voting on the amendment, so hearing nothing, no other discussion, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Can I,
We're voting, so, all right, we had.
This is on Teresa's.
Yes, on the amendment, yep. So we have, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are you gonna vote?
I am, I was gonna say.
Well, we're voting now though, we're not doing anything extra. We
No,
have-
I wasn't gonna do
Okay,
anything.
okay, all right.
I was
Are you gonna-
ask for actual voice count.
Okay, so,
Can we do that?
yeah, roll
Yeah,
call vote.
yeah.
Teresa?
Aye.
Sandy?
Aye.
Brian?
No.
Jill? No. Jamie? I
Nay.
called you, I'm not even sure what I called you. And Tracy?
Nay.
All right. So we had a roll call vote. We had 2 yeses and 4 noes. So the motion does not carry for the amendment. So then we go back to our original motion to offer the superintendent contract to Jim Menton. And we will vote on that. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 4-2. All right, moving on to number 2, authorize district office to seek newspaper quotes for the 2021-2022 school year. These are quotations will be requested from 2 local newspapers for the cost of printing minutes and legal notices for the 2021-2022 school year. Quotations will be due on June 18th and will be placed in the June 28th board meeting for vendor approval.
So moved, Bookto.
Motion is made by Bookto,
Second, Boleen.
seconded by Boleen. Any discussion or questions? Hearing nothing, we will vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Number 3, seek dairy bids for the 2021-2022 school year. Your authorization is needed in order to seek bids for the purchase and delivery of dairy products for the 2021-2022 school year. Quotations will be due on June 18th and will be placed on the June 28th board meeting for vendor approval.
So moved. Go ahead, Ryan.
Bowen made the motion and
Boleen second.
Boleen seconded it. Any questions or discussion on that? Hearing nothing, we will vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Approve the SFY 2020 application for special education funds statement of assurances. It's enclosure number 3.
So moved, Boleen.
Motion is made by Boleen,
Second book.
seconded by Bookdal. Any questions or discussion on this? Hearing nothing, we will vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Number 5, approve student activity fees for the 2021-2022 school year. Athletic fees, junior high $75 to sport, senior high $100 to sport. Family cap $350, fine arts, junior high $45, senior high $70, family cap at $150. Musical, junior high $75 per person, senior high $100 per person, family cap at $150.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Derek, did those go up this year?
No, they went up last year,
Okay.
but they weren't gonna raise them again.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Motion is made by Bookdal,
Second, Boleen.
seconded by Boleen. Any discussion or questions? Hearing nothing, we will vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Number 6, approve the 2021-2022 Head Start lease agreement. Enclosure, what did I say, lice?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Lease.
Now my
lease.
head itches.
No lice. No lice, yeah. Sorry about that. All right. There's a little comic relief there. So enclosure number 4, would somebody like to make the motion?
The rent was increased from the $450 to $500 a month, and that's been at $450 for a long period of time, I think, and all of our expenditures have gone up, so
Okay.
they're very agreeable to that, so.
So moved, Boleen.
Motion is made by Boleen, seconded by Benson. Any further discussion? Hearing nothing, we will vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Number 7, approve the Pack for Families contract for Tom Cruise, K-12 social worker for the 2021-2022 school year. Motion is made by Benson,
Second, Bowen.
seconded by Bowen. Any discussion or questions?
I just want to say,
I don't think so. I don't see
just
him.
thank you.
Yeah.
And
The work that he does.
I mean,
Yeah.
they've
been
had
a
a
long
long,
year.
bad year.
Yes.
And they've done a great job.
Yes. Thank you.
I agree. Thank you, Sandy.
Yes. All right. Anything else? All right. Hearing nothing, we will vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. So upcoming dates. So the Wednesday, May 26th, retirement party at 3:30. Again, let Joey know if you can help out. June 3rd, 2021, last day of school for students. June 4th, 2021, graduation at 7 p.m. in the Olivia Large Gym.
What time do you want us here?
Yes. Typically,
Mr. Minton,
what time do you want the board there for graduation?
You were gonna have that on your board meeting minutes.
Yes. Starts at 7.
7:05?
15 minutes is usually plenty.
Okay, so 6:45. All right.
Can
Thank
we
you.
hug?
Right now.
No. We're students. I can have my own
Family.
kid, right?
You, yeah, I think you can hug your daughter for sure. So.
She probably won't want to hug me.
Oh, all right. That is our last item on the agenda. So with that, I would be looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Boleen.
Motion is made by Boleen, seconded by Benson. No, we're not asking for discussion. With that, we will vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Time adjourned 8:09. Thank you all very much.